morning. You're watching QTV This Morning. I am Ibrahim Balde. We are back again on another edition of your favorite morning program. Wherever you're watching, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure, to tune into this channel. And I am with Mr. Adi Drame as the co-host of this program. Mr. Adi, good morning.
Good morning. I'm smiling because you always say it's always a pleasure to tune in. So you're speaking as if you're a viewer.
Yeah, I'm speaking.
Tune in?
I'm speaking on the viewer's perspective. Tuning in.
It's great. Thank you for inviting me. Although it says quite clearly that today I am Julde Njai.
Yes.
So people just have to imagine that.
Why
I'm
are
Julde
you
Njai.
holding two biros?
Because different colors.
Yes.
And so I mark things in different colors.
I can see.
As we go down.
And you
the list.
and you have others in your pockets.
I have
as well.
one in my pocket. A journalist can never have too many pens.
I can see.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so it's good to have you, Mr. Adi Drame.
It's good to be here.
Yesterday we couldn't, have this.
We couldn't delve into,
Yeah, so we have Mr. Malika as our newspaper review guest here. Mr. Ka, good morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure as always. I realized today you dropped the sorry. Normally you say,
Ibrahim
I
Sorry
don't know
Balde.
what sorry did
Ibrahim
to you
Sorry
today,
Balde.
but, sorry is no longer
I think
part of
sometimes he
today.
forgets.
So we suspect that you are not sorry.
The names I have, there are too many. Cherno Ibrahim Sorry Balde Kubia. You didn't know the Kubia name of the Kubia name. Yeah, so it's good to have you, Mr. Ka.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so on the program, we'll take a look at the African Code, then the 16 days of activism, unite to end digital violence, and of course,
against women.
Yeah, exactly. So we will be talking to Aisha Balde, Paradise Foundation coordinator, Tahawu Jigen, and Aluba Outreach Coordinator, Gambia Cyber Security Alliance. We'll be talking to them.
Don't forget, you'll also be having
Islamic perspective, Imam Usman Jah.
Aye.
Surprisingly, Islamic perspective is taking over this morning. Because now, if I go out, what people tell me, please, tell Imam Jah to talk about this next week.
And such.
You understand? So people are liking the Islamic perspective on this program.
Which is good.
So, yeah, this is what we want. Yeah, so Mr. Ali, let's take a look at the African Code.
I'll try with my croaky voice. The past cannot be changed, nor the future be known. Says it's a Swahili proverb. Swahili spoken
the future be
very
known.
much in Eastern Africa, of course.
I guess
Nobody knows the future.
That's obvious because what's gone is gone, And the bridge with the water, sorry, I'm not fully. The water passes under the bridge, that's it, it's gone. So the past, you can only learn from the past to avoid mistakes into the future. But the future also you cannot know, but you can project based on what had happened in the past. So the past is very informative to the extent that you can use it to chart the way forward into the future, but you cannot be guaranteed the outcome of the future is what you have designed. So therefore it's important as a lesson to reflect on what had happened. It's very instructive and highly educational that you take the lessons learned into the future, but nonetheless you cannot know what the future holds.
Yes, imagine you're at school or you're at university and you took an exam and you failed. If you are wise, you will look at why you failed and you will study better, harder, whatever, to make sure that the next exam you pass.
Absolutely.
Like they say, you can't step twice on the same piece of water. But as Malik rightly says, once it's gone, it's gone. But nonetheless, you can take lessons from, either mistakes or things you failed to do.
You cannot know what the future holds. You never know. But you can also try to strengthen the future, because it is said where you stand today will determine how the future it's going to be. You understand? A person who works very hard, very determined, very dedicated, can be different from a person who doesn't even care. You understand? At the same time, mistakes of the past can also teach you lessons to be able to get a brighter future.
Absolutely, because the future is the future. You don't know what happens tomorrow. You know, tomorrow is another day. You plan things today, and then fate have it otherwise.
Sure.
So, but nonetheless, if you don't plan, you are planning to fail. So it's good to plan ahead, but you are not guaranteed the outcome of your planning. But nonetheless, planning is very important.
I always, when we have discussions of this nature, I always reflect back to a member of my staff 25 years ago, Fred. He called me on a Friday to say that, you know, he was at the doctor's office, and I teased him saying, "You just want a long weekend." You know, he said, no, I'm not feeling well. I said, but anyway, if all goes well, I'll see you on Monday. Half an hour later, at the doctor's surgery in London, he died.
Oh!
Yeah. I'll never forget it. And that really kind of, every time we have these kind of conversations, it always brings back that incident to me about how unpredictable. You can plan all you want. This guy, somebody who he'd always kind of planned for his future for when he retired. He was 55 at the time, so he was some way off retirement. Literally, he had over $1 million in his various accounts and his shares and so on. And it all went to his sister, his only sibling, you know. So all his plans for retirement, even the plans for the weekend, half an hour later.
Oh, yeah.
Because I got the call on the Monday saying that could they speak to somebody who he used to work with. I said, well, I said, he still works with me. And the person said, I'm his sister. So I said, when did he die? And she said, 9:30. I said, well, I spoke to him at 9 o'clock.
Oh, wow. 30 minutes.
On that Friday. And
30 minutes after you spoke to him.
So it just shows, you know, you can plan.
It's unpredictable.
It's unpredictable.
Yeah, so all these things that we do, all this going and coming, all these homes we are building, all the plans we are doing, at the end of the time, we don't know. We just hope and pray.
You hope.
Yeah, but nonetheless, you have to plan.
You have to plan. You can't just say, oh, I don't know what's going to happen.
Happens.
Yeah, exactly.
There is continuity.
Yeah,
you have siblings, you have other people.
Absolutely.
So planning is of the essence. In life, if you don't plan, you are planning to fail. So it's always good to plan, and what happens tomorrow happens. But you have to plan today for tomorrow. You have to go. And
but most of the time, if you plan and plan well, I mean, you succeed. Most of the time.
If you plant seeds and grow crops and you are expecting to harvest, doesn't guarantee that you will be the one to harvest. But it's there, it's grown, it's matured, the grains are there, the seeds are there, so therefore...
It reminds me of a farmer in the provinces, I mean, these days, I mean, a very sad incident that happened after, you know, cultivating his land, harvest all his crops. Unfortunately, one of his sons burnt everything. You understand?
By accident or by intent?
Well, they are trying to investigate what happened. Whoa. But can you imagine that magnitude of harvest? You know, you put fire in it and everything gone. Wow. You know, so it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, that's
Let's end it on a high note. But, you know, it's lovely also to plan. There are a lot of successful planning, you know, that come into the future as being fruitful, and then you realize it and you are very happy. So
and you look at countries that are successful, they're not successful by accident. It's through planning. You know, and I've always given this sort of, not exactly an analogy, it's a fact of history that growing up, if you had said to me at the age of 10 that China would be what China is today, I would have laughed. That's how dramatic the change has been in China. And that happened not by accident, but by planning. And so you can, and look at China today. You know, people just need to go back. Don't believe, just check the history, check the footage and everything else, and it will show you. You wouldn't even recognize the country.
History is important. Learn about the mistakes and the successes as well. It's not just mistakes. You can emulate some of the successes and plan into the future. But the future yields, you don't exactly know, but you're planning it. So it's best to plan rather than not to plan.
Exactly. So viewers, will take a short break. After the break, then the program is going to continue. We'll be back. Gilabila radiyallahu anha wadi noddingol folongol e Islam. Noddingol tawa e dine mengon. Julbe ben noddinte doye be yahude be jula. Enen fo daroɗen dula goto si tawi ka jogiɗo ma ala fof juula laaɓi joyi e ñallal ngal. Aji Bank Limited no welti fi tawede laaɓi tati oɗo azan competition fii ɓe dépensa mo ɓe ɓeydanamo doole ɗum ɗo ko fii tun hoolagol ko wonɗen kon haa para yiɗa daro fonka ko annduɗa ɗum ɗon woni ko hawti en kon ɗum woni hoolagol haa para noon kadi noddingol fii juulen awa tawe ɗum ɗo jooni an kadi ɓeydita hen e sengo ko annduɗa ko ɗum woni noddingol waɗu vidéo jooni nulda e whatsapp hara hiɗa nuddina e oɗon nomba 3373555 ɗo e balɗe 31 lewru décembre 2025 meɗen jogii yimɓe ɓe annduɗa hiɓe jogii gandal ko kamɓe darata te noon kadi min noddoya on ɗo ka QTV fi wawa yiide poɗodiron e ko ɓura andirede e final on fi wawon yiide on gañike te noon ɓe jonniray ko annduɗa ko ɗum woni certificate ji mbuuɗi kañum kadi e piiji boyi 2026 national Azan competition ko Ajib Bank dépensi ɗum Ajib Bank yo investment partner. On the right, yeah. So we are back. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde, and to our viewers in the United States of America, England, Auntie Angela. Hello, good morning. I've received your greeting from through Mr. Ade. Thank you very much.
Yes. Angela said thank you for the shout outs.
Yes, I mean, you know, we are one big family. Yeah, so on the Standard newspaper, Jongula Sanamanjang extradited to the Gambia, Mr. Ade.
He has been extradited, and there's been a widely circulated video. We got it before yesterday's news, but we didn't. We can see it on the screen here. We didn't use it because, you know, we said it was unverified. But, you know, it's been widely shared, and of course people recognize him, and it is recognizably him.
But what amazed me the most is, I mean, some of the comments that people were making. Why was he kind of smiling? Why was he not arrested like a criminal? I mean, to be maybe put in one corner or something. I mean, he's handed over to the Gambia.
I think that's what you call a rueful smile. When somebody realizes the game is up, it's not a smile of pleasure. You look at it again, it's what is called a rueful smile. And of course, this is some days after he was arrested, so we don't know what the scene was on the day he was arrested. This is merely the handing over. So there's no need for, you know, any kind of rough treatment or anything. It's unnecessary. And
Mr.
that's
Carr,
just, you know.
Yeah, I hope this is the beginning also to arrest the rest of them. There are lots of them who were serial killers, according to the TRRC, you know, and they are roaming about the streets. Yes, this guy was a heinous character that was part of the junglers. There are many of them that are free and going about their businesses. So what we are expecting to see, that there is some serious measures being taken against all those people that have been allegedly found to have committed such heinous crimes against, you know. The victims are still there. They are still watching, no closure for them, and these people are going about their businesses. It's worth celebrating, though, that is person of this nature that had played some very important roles in the shooting and execution. A lot of people is being arrested and handed to us by the Senegalese government.
Yeah. So, I mean, now I think most people can sit and be very comfortable. Wherever you are, the long arm of the law will definitely get to you. They didn't see this coming when they were at their corner in the Casamas region. They didn't expect, I mean, this is going to happen. Sana wasn't expecting by this time, this day, he would be in the Gambia. So, I mean, whatever we do as a people or whatever we do as a security force, we need to put these things into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, as you rightly say, when you are in power or you're committing certain crimes, sometimes you do them thinking you'll never be caught or you'll never be brought to justice. And not everybody who commits a crime is. But as Malik rightly says, now that he has been arrested and handed over, let the process take its course and let, you know, justice be served. And, you know, so let's see what happens, and then let's see what happens to the others.
And we also have to thank our security forces, the joint security agreement between Senegal and the Gambia, I mean, it made this arrest very easy because it would have been difficult for Gambian securities to go into Senegal. Because most of the criminals, sometimes what they do is, when you commit a crime, you go into Casamance. When you get there, you are safe. So now when you get to Casamance, you are not safe because you will be arrested. At the same time, you know, you remember the Sukura Jabang incident that happened, according to, you know,
the allegation was that the person
fled to Casamance, and he was apprehended as well. So it's really,
it's no longer a haven.
Think Senegal have a stake in this as well, because the instability in Casamance would amount to, you know, affecting entire Senegal, and Senegal have gone through a lot of difficult phases, you know, at the time when the Casamance rebellion was at its height, and they used to crisscross along the borders, because the borders are very porous between Gambia, Senegal, and Guinea-Bissau. So, and now Guinea-Bissau also, the dynamics are changing. So the collaboration is important, because regardless of who, a criminal is not somebody that you would want in your backyard. So if you have a criminal, you don't know what crimes that he may commit, you know, or going to commit within your territory. So it's best also to arrest such people, detain them, and then prosecute them. So we say it's a job well done. It's about time we collaborate within our sub-region to ensure that, you know, we create stability.
Absolutely.
Because the region is very volatile.
Absolutely. So Barrow pledges government commitment to protect wildlife, combat environmental crime. Did he tell this to the Hunters Association?
I'm sure he will be more alert, more
now
conscious,
that incident has happened,
because these incidents, it's not looking very good. But I'm sure now he would be more careful to not to entertain this type of things, because the optics are not good. So I have the feeling that, you know, he would do as he has promised to ensure protect.
On another headline, PPP is not dead. Brother Ibrahim Jawara, in case you're watching, probably would definitely love to have the PPP presidential candidate on this platform. You know, Ibrahim Jawara is the grandchild of former President Jawara, late President Jawara. Yes.
Yeah, the party is not dead, but it's not in the most robust health either. It might be in a critical condition, it might be on life support. I'm not sure what analogy you want to use, but it's certainly no longer the dominant force that it once was. And that's the reality, that's a fact. It's not even, you know, casting aspersions, it's just stating the fact. You look at the National Assembly and you look at the parties that are, you know, they are fairly inconsequential these days.
Mr. Carr, let's take a look at how parties tend to die out with their party leaders. I hope the UDP, this is not the kind of situations that they are trying to run away from after Ousainou Darboe happens to, you know, hand over everything to another individual. Because in the Gambia, most of the time, parties, we look at the party leader. Once the party leader is not around, the party is dead.
Yeah, and that is, you can apply that to many African countries.
I was going to say.
Only few have their original parties at independence that are still going and strong.
Sierra Leone does. The two main ones are still the two main ones at independence.
Even PAIGC in Guinea-Bissau. So it's a shell
after changing party leaders.
Oh, since independence?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Of course. So several times.
So there are certain political parties that have that continuity and the momentum, but some have that natural tendency to die because of, you know, maybe what circumstances that PPP faced with. They were overthrown and assets frozen, everything taken, the whole institution was dismantled. So they were killed. They did not necessarily die a natural death. So some parties are killed, others they die a natural death because they don't have that popularity or the continuity. If you look back into history, you would see that UP was the dominant party post-independence under PS Njai. But UP, you know, is no longer. After independence, its relevance and significance, things change, the dynamics change, and then emerge new political parties. We had the NCP that came out of the PPP. Sharif Mustafa Diba created that.
You had Muslim Congress.
Yeah, we had the Gambia Muslim Congress as well, JC Faye, and sorry, Gaba Jahumpa. Gaba Jahumpa, you know, the Gambia Muslim Congress. And then later on you had Papche Yasin Seka, I think it was the NRP, something like that. That is Papche Yasin Seka, a young lawyer who came from the US at the time. So all those political parties, and there are many more, I'm sure, that you can recall. But if you go to Senegal, you can look at PS and PDS. PS was the Senghor political movement. Now you have new political parties.
Ibrahima just sent us a message and said, good morning, gentlemen. He said, I am watching, we are restructuring. We haven't been killed, but in coma. Put in coma.
Yes.
We wish you well, we hope you will get out of coma, because the more the merrier. Before, political parties used to be ideological. Now that is blurred. Very few countries you have that ideological distinction. Now they are very similar in terms of their programs and then what they do. So that is,
and as Malik rightly says, I mean, you look at Guinea-Bissau, PAIGC, which was in both Guinea-Bissau and Cabo Verde, you know, after people like Amilcar Cabral and the others who came after him, Almeida and others, after they went, the party still had some, because in Cabo Verde, you know, they've been in power, they've been out of power, in power, out of power. And of course, the guy, Fernando Diaz da Costa, who supposedly won, would have brought PAIGC back into power because he stood under their ticket in Guinea-Bissau. But of course, that was not to be. And in fact, just watching a press conference where they said that.
You must understand, some of the political parties were liberation movements as well, because the post-colonial era, you know, they had to confront the colonialists. So some of them had to be very decisive in terms of challenging the violence of the colonialists. So some of them were movements that were in the bush fighting.
ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe.
ANC, you know, and you can list Frelimo, you know, list, you know, that, you know, in Algeria, if you go there as well. So they were
MPLA,
in Kenya, the MPLA movement and all these things, MPLA. These were post-independent. They were fighting for liberation. So maybe sometimes through the transition and evolution of things, their relevance would have declined and new political parties emerged, or the dynamics overthrowing of this system. And if you look at Ghana, I think the Kwame Nkrumah party, APP, I don't know, something like, or PPC, something I cannot recall. All those have changed over a period of time. Only few have survived and continue. Because sometimes the party is built around an individual. And once that individual is no more, like, you know, the Mandinkas would say, Kunuba, Fenko, Yiriba Boita, Kunol Janjanta. You know, Yiriba Boita, Kunol Janjanta. It happens, you know, in many societies.
And that's going to be the test for NPP, you know.
As well,
can they survive a post?
But there was a statement that Barrow said NPP is still young,
but you know,
and they still need him around to make sure, you know, to build the party more, to make it very strong.
That would be the test.
When you are out of power, that's when
that's the test.
When you put
patronage and all
when you put the strong foundations, you put all the things at the right place. Even if you are away, you will definitely, the party will still move. You know, it's not centered around.
You can survive, but are still relevant, you know. And there is survival. You can have one or two people just soldering on and having the party.
But are you still going to be at the helm of things?
So Nigeria grants asylum to Guinea-Bissau presidential candidate after coup.
In Guinea-Bissau, I think this guy went to the
embassy of Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria.
That's normal. They have to protect him because I'm sure people like Goodluck Jonathan, whilst they were there, they must have read the situation and look, guy, go into the embassy and stay there. Otherwise, these people will kill you.
Yes, I mean, I think they let him go because in the same way they released Mbalo, he was in custody, and I saw. When his daughter was talking about you know, the conditions in which he was kept, but he was subsequently released, and then he went to the Nigerian embassy. And And
I've seen you share the
press,
CNC,
yes,
so Independent Electoral Commission.
So the Electoral Commission held a press, and I thought it was quite brave of them to actually say that the military came in and they vandalized our computers to make sure that we were not able to release the results. But then at the end of the press conference, they refused to take questions from the media. But the fact that they came out and said the military, who are now in command, came in and vandalized our computers, I thought that was quite brave.
I think that's the best excuse they have not to announce the results, so they could have made
but to say, they could say, they seized it, but to say they vandalized it, I thought was quite a statement. So, it looks like it's very unlikely that we will get the results.
There are consultations with the military junta, and they are going to announce a transitional phase. I don't know if
well, they had, I shared that as well. So they've kind of issued a list of things that they plan to do, and they say the transition will be 1 year. Well, we've heard this before, so I'm not even paying any attention to that. 1 year tends to turn into 10 and then 20, but that's what they've said. And they said, they're going to crack down on corruption and so on. But again, they always say that as well. I remember Jammeh famously. But yeah, so what else do you have for us? Sorry.
No, I was just going to add, that's always, they always generate euphoria when they come because of the disillusionment of the citizenry, So that is why sometimes, the African, we are faced with a dilemma. The military intervention sometimes is welcome because certain people overstay their welcome to the extent that people are disillusioned. If you take Cameroon, for instance, if they were overthrown, I'm sure people will come out in the streets and jubilate. There are many countries in Africa now, because of they have, used the instruments of oppression, the army and all these things, but people don't necessarily like them. So, but the army would intervene and also perpetuate themselves in the power.
And I think that's
the dilemma, the contradiction.
I think you're right. That is the contradiction, because they come and there is this euphoria, people dancing in the streets. They dance for Jammeh, I remember. Absolutely. And I think with Bissau, the frustration that you're getting from all the kind of social media stuff that I've been following over the last 2-3 days is that people thought that they had accomplished the proper regime change by voting out Embalo.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they've not been given the chance to.
The Bissau scenario is completely different.
It's kind of weird one.
Theft.
Really.
Daylight robbery, that is what they have
You've
done.
thwarted the public will.
So the National Center for Arts and Culture will not accept artists with inappropriate music content. Recently we have seen a lot of inappropriate content from some of our young musicians. I mean, it calls for a concern, some of the wording, some of the words that are used in their music. I am a witness where I hear small kids
lyrics
repeating those lyrics. I mean,
I think they are being influenced because of our neighbors. They have this beefing King Baba and what's this other guy, they say things. Well, I think they can just moderate on the lyrics, not use foul language, obscene.
It's a difficult one because they had a similar thing in America where they tried to ban rap music, saying that, they were using vile and, foul language and so on. And there was a backlash. In a sense, the public will decide whether they like it or not. But it's because when you start restricting that, what else do you restrict? Where does it stop? So there is a balance to be made, but it would be quite interesting to know what they consider to be inappropriate.
Especially when Eminem came on the scene in the U.S. at the time. It was really kind of...
So overcrowded juvenile wings sparks urgent welfare concern.
Absolutely, they should decongest the prisons. The conditions there are appalling, especially when it comes to young people. And most of these people are convicted for the most
They're not serious crimes, exactly.
And the sentencing tariff, I've been saying that, should be revisited, especially with the smoking of cannabis, 1 joint, 2 joints. You are there for 3-4 years, destroy your entire life. I think the government should also look at those things and then review all these sentencing tariffs in some of these crimes that are really petty thefts, petty these things. Yes, it's not good. We should be rehabilitating rather than destroying, you know, all those young people who may have the potential to be something, but because of their circumstances and the conditions, not making any excuses for what they have done. But what I'm saying, sometimes
we can look at it in another angle.
Yeah, absolutely. Where you give them skills, you retrain them, you decongest that.
Yeah.
Should not take any pride, because they tell you, look at a nation by determining how good is in terms of the welfare they give to their women and children. That would tell you.
Thumbs up to Inside Training Center. I mean, yesterday, as I was driving along the Banjul Highway, I've seen the institution that they built in the prisons, classrooms. I mean, you know, I've seen that. I mean, for the inmates to acquire skills before they leave. So they'll teach them different skills, you know, so that you will at least equip yourself. You know, Ibrahim Traore of Burkina, we've also seen.
It's Traore.
Traore.
Please.
Traore.
No. His name is Traore.
Traore.
Please.
Okay, all right. That's fine.
Let's give him his He's not Tarawale.
So we have seen how those that are accused of stealing, you understand, how the government is using them to provide labor for other sectors.
That's a common thing that's been done in the past, and as Malik rightly says, you know, people are in for kind of relatively minor things, and the prisons are congested. You can decongest it by saying, okay, we will, you know, reduce your sentence, you know, let you go and so on. But too many people being, you know, sentenced for what's petty crime. Really. Please don't miss out this story on Foroya.
Yeah, but one more. Court rejects PPD's, application over disputed audio in PIU shooting case. I don't know what PPD means.
So,
you know,
I don't know,
but they've rejected, an audio. Yeah, probably it's one of the witnesses. You remember when the other one came and said the shoes didn't fit, and the other lady, the young lady, sent, conversations.
You know, evidence have rules, and you submit certain categories of tests before it's admissible or inadmissible. Admissibility of evidence is based on a certain.
But there are instances where
in fact, I think you misled people when you said PPD. It's DPP.
DPP.
Director of Public Prosecution.
Oh, DPP. I didn't see that.
I was wondering what.
I'm not getting old. It's not that I'm getting old. I'm still seeing my eyes. I can still put a thread in the needle. Yes. So Mr. Carr, but there are instances where you get to a stage and you realize, okay, this individual we should acquit and discharge because of the evidence.
Lack of evidence. Yeah, evidence is very important in any trial. You know, and admissibility and inadmissibility, because certain categories of evidence are more difficult, like hearsay evidence. You know, and certain type of. So it's a host of certain area of itself in law that people specialize just to understand how you present and what you bring, and also the counterpart or the counter argument not to admit, because that would be incriminating or is biased, or there are a host of issues that you look at in order to challenge the admissibility or inadmissibility of a particular evidence.
And there's one story which I think we have to bring.
Okay, go ahead.
National Assembly.
On the
It was not Foroya.
Foroya.
They didn't have a quorum.
They did not have a quorum. They did not have enough National Assembly members to sit yesterday.
Oh, wow. What happened?
That's a big story.
So there will be no sitting.
You can't sit. There has to be a certain number of National Assembly members for the Assembly.
So is it boycott? Is it where are they? Or what
and so happened, you know? Now they're complaining about, you know, the ones who did turn up, saying we need to crack down on absenteeism because they said that, you know, people, they vote for you, you should turn up.
They should know why.
You know, but for the number to be so low that you can't hold a sitting, that is serious.
That's very
and that's
serious.
why I said we shouldn't kind of skip over that story, because it's
very,
mega,
very serious indeed.
You know, and you know, I think they need something that needs to be addressed. Absolutely. But just quickly then to go back to that story, and of course also in the West Coast Radio interview with Abdoulaye Sanyang, the court was very particular. They had to bring in Gomez and say, can you verify that this recording was not tampered with, was not edited, that this is as it was said? You know, like we remember what happened recently with BBC and Trump. In a 50-minute speech, they clipped out one bit from the start and one from the end, and now Big Wahala is threatening to sue them for billions. So that is very, very important when you admitting video or audio evidence in a court case. It has to be verified, and then they bring in the person to say under oath this has not been tampered with, and so on. So usually there'll be kind of back and forth between people saying, oh no, this should be admitted, no, it should not be admitted. So yeah.
Exactly.